Yo, what is up, people? Thank you so much for joining us on the first episode of The Max Factor. And I have to share with you guys very quickly, hopefully short, but I don't do anything short. I actually don't do anything quick either. The Max Factor is all about this idea that my father planted in me since I'm a kid. You see, he always taught me, do your best, try your hardest, reach towards your potential, but above all, do what you love and never work a day in your life. He said, discover that one thing that you really truly are passionate about and then go for it. And I was really so fortunate to have parents that encouraged me to find my passion, follow my dreams, and strive for excellence and happiness in my life, that I said, what better frickin' name for this podcast than the Max Factor? Name it after my dad, name it after his idea, and spread forward this idea for everybody, literally everybody on the face of the earth, to find that one thing that distinguishes them, that separates them as an individual from everybody else. And that one thing we are calling from this point forward, the Max Factor. And with that, I'd like to introduce our first guest. We are incredibly fortunate to have with us today a gentleman that some of us know already, and if you know him, is truly, truly to love him because he's an extraordinary individual. His story speaks for itself, so I'm not going to tell it for him. Here he is, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Scott Chesney, my good friend.
Great to see you. It's great to be here on the Max Factor. I don't know if I want to tell my story. I'd rather hear about your parents' story. I'm all fired up. We'll have to talk about that another time. But that's wonderful. I'm honored to be here, honored to share my story, which obviously is unique, just like everyone else's story, but powerful nonetheless. And as you know, Bryan, I'm at my life and is still, but before paralysis, was all about movement. I'm at the football, the basketball, the baseball, everything was all about movement. And that continued for the first 15 years of my life. And then there was, as I call it, a paralyzing experience. It's still an experience 33 years later, but affected me when I was 15, and it was a very rare stroke that kind of took over my spinal cord. We think of most strokes occurring in the brain. Mine occurred in the spinal cord. It was something I was born with, but could have gone my whole life without anything happening. It was like a sleeping volcano, and then just kind of woke up one morning, day after a high school basketball game in Verona High School, and I woke up to a numb big toe, like when your foot falls asleep. And then 48 hours later, that numbness went up one leg, went up a second leg, and left me paralyzed, unable to move and feel from about my belly button down to my toes. No accident, no injury, no trauma. And it was something that, you know what, really didn't affect me in the beginning. There was that fleeting moment of like, what's going on? And there was shock, but there was so much love and support that was around me. So I got on with my life, and my life has continued to be a devotion to motion. But like anything traumatic that happens in your life, any type of adversity, any type of challenge, there's gonna be moments in your life where, you know, you're gonna recognize that it's kind of done something to your life. It's shaken the core of who you are. So as I tell people, there's no wrong time to go back to the drawing board. So it was about 10, 12 years after this originally happened to me that I finally grieved, that I finally gave that 15-year-old kid the opportunity to feel his feelings, to feel that anger, to feel that sadness, everything you can imagine anyone at any time feeling when paralysis has entered their lives. And you got to remember, there was no pointing the finger. I can't say, you know what, I jumped off a building, or I was drunk, or like I was doing something stupid. I just woke up. So I like to say this is part of my destiny. This is part of my life, but still, there was loss, there were challenges, and there still is to this day. It's about putting things in perspective.
But okay, so here's the thing. Like, I think there's going to be hundreds of people, if not thousands of people, if not tens of thousands of people that are listening to this. And
I'm going to say millions.
Millions.
I'm going to go millions.
I love
millions.
that. I love that. Millions. Do we got enough like bandwidth? We're getting all that, right? Okay. So there's going to be millions and trillions of people watching this video. And, you know, so many people that I come across on a daily basis, you know, whether it's in business or in the Max or in my daily travels, like they've got these roadblocks that are seemingly insurmountable, and they're so real, right? Like, I can't get in great shape. I can't get up early to work out. I can't stay up late to get in the workout. I can't stay up late to do the extra work that I need to do in order to really make my business successful. And being somebody who's been through that, is on the other side, I'm looking at it and saying, okay, this is an invisible obstacle. Now, to me, I look at you and it's like freaking amazing. You have something that to most people would be like, okay, that's a real obstacle. But somehow you're able to overcome that. And some of the things that you did, skydiving, surfing, all things that people are just like scared out of their freaking bejesus to do. And here you've overcome, you're doing these things, you're successful, you have a family. Like, what advice can you give these tens of millions of people that are watching on how to deal with the everyday getting along with things?
Absolutely. Well, everybody wakes up. Everybody wakes up with this power, and it's power to choose. It's the power to choose what type of attitude you're going to have. I tell people, Bryan, the only place a true disability can reside is in one's attitude, and that's a choice. There are people who are physically and mentally fine right now who are disabling themselves mentally by saying, I can't do this, or this is tough, or this is challenging, and thus not doing anything, not taking any action moving forward. And it's not to judge them. I don't believe anyone put us on this earth to say you're a better person or less of a person. Everyone's my equal. I have strengths in some areas you don't. You have strengths in some areas I don't. I mean, you put them together, there's equality. That's the way I feel about every human being. But every single day now, Bryan, for 33 years, I have awakened, like everyone else, awakened, gotten out of the bed or gotten sat up in bed. My difference is, for many, as compared to many people, is that I have a waiting wheelchair that's waiting for me. And every single day for 33 years, I've gotten into that wheelchair because that to me represents showing up for life. So by people just getting up, by getting out of that bed, by putting clothes on and everything, that's half the battle. That's showing up for life. And I want to acknowledge everyone out there who's watching this, who showed up, because you're turning this on. Even if you're listening in bed, you had to take some type of action, just showing up in life. The other half of the battle is, again, related to our power to choose. Where are your choices taking you? Because I know through this power to choose is that, we can hit our goals. We can realize our dreams. We can actually go beyond our wildest dreams with this power to choose. And I will also tell you is that through this power to choose, we can create a life of misery and one of destruction for ourselves and other people. That's where I tell people is that, wow, you own this power right here, right now. And you can say, hey, well, all this has happened in my past and everything. Guess what? Through the power to choose, your past could equal the future. Keep taking those same steps. Or you can say, you know what? Today's a new day. Today's the first day of my life for one reason and one reason only, because I so choose. And you can just determine that. And I've realized that it's so important, Bryan, for us to ignite this flame. So if anyone's thinking, wow, I don't have that strength inside of me. No. Everyone out there has this source of incredible energy, strength to handle anything that's going on in their lives, and not just survive, but thrive in the face of it. I'm convinced of it. So even though if you were to ask me, like, do you think before I became paralyzed, do you ever think I'd be able to handle this? I would have said no. But there is, when we're in a situation, there is a switch that we can flip. And just by choosing, but we got to do it. And you'll understand this, Bryan, is that we could have the best family, the best friend, the best team, the best colleague support in the world. And it could be meaningless because we're not giving it to ourselves. Is that when we give it to ourselves, when we flip that switch, when we ignite that flame within us, then this wonderful support system that we have outside of ourselves, then it magnifies everything that we have. Then it serves us. So this lets me know, it's kind of like that old saying, when you fly an airplane and everything, you got to give the oxygen to yourself first before you give it to other people. That's what we got to do. We got to turn this on to ourselves first, and that will make everything in our lives a little bit better. But it's a choice. And so wherever anyone is right now, who's ever watching this, and we all have stories, and you could say, wow, well, my story is worse than everyone's. Folks, there are people right now who are in far more debilitating situations than me physically, who are in parts of this world. I've traveled to 40 countries now. I've seen people who don't know when their next meal's coming. I've seen people who don't know where they're gonna live tonight. And yet, through their attitude and their power to choose, are choosing not only to survive, but thrive. So there's no story out there, and I want to acknowledge every story out there is meaningful and it's powerful. But don't get set on your story so much as being a blockade. I'm letting you know someone who's got it maybe far worse than you do is choosing to thrive. So you can make that same choice right here, right now.
Do you think that people have a propensity, in general, people in general have a propensity towards positivity or negativity?
I'm going to say, and I want to be kind here, negativity. And again, this isn't to blame our parents.
But this is very quick, right? Because you know this is something
I mean, you just got to think about the words. If I were to ask people right now who are listening, is that what 3 words would best describe who you are? See, I know Bryan's is handsome. I know Bryan's is like muscular. I know Bryan is, I mean, we can fill it with positive words, but for the most part, and you got to ask yourself, how long have I been saying this to myself, is that most of the time it's negative. Like, I'm ugly, I'm fat, I'm stupid. And a lot of us thinks this is just an internal dialogue, whereas guess what? However we see ourselves, that's the message, that's the advertisement we're sending to the rest of the world. So for the most part, I mean, think about this. When you woke up this morning, and I want everyone to think about, when you woke up this morning, you looked into a mirror. Did you look in that mirror, big smile on your face, and say, damn, I look good today? No, you were there. You're critical. Like, look at the bags under my eyes. Look at this zit. This isn't even a 6-pack. It's a 1-pack. My clothes are hideous. I can't get my hair. Can't get my hair to do a thing. It's crazy. Yet we're in self-sabotage mode. But the thing is that we can begin. So what I like to do now, because whether it be that ego or that sabotaging self that comes up, that wants to hold us back, and in so many ways it serves us. It tries to protect us, and it keeps us in what's called a comfort zone. And so what we need to do, so anytime it comes up, I start to laugh at it, that little voice inside that you can't do this. I was like, oh, you're here again. You need a little attention. And then I try to replace it negative. You know what? You're ugly. No, you're good looking. You're better today. You know what? You're stupid. No, you're intelligent. Let me just tell you what you just did. So I try to cancel it out all the time. Because a lot of people, I mean, if you think about it, are heading in a direction right now, is like, you know, I don't know what I want in life. I don't know what I want to do with my life. And that may be the case, but you know what? You know what you don't want anymore. You know whatever it is that you're going right now, it's not serving you. It's not making you feel good. So guess what? And everybody could tell you what's the opposite of sad, happy? What's one thing right now that I know could make me happy? Whether it's eating something that nourishes me, whether it's making a phone call that I know they're going to pick my spirits up. Maybe it's just getting outside the house and going out somewhere. What's one thing that I can do that makes me happy? And what happens is that once you start moving away from what you don't want anymore, you're distancing yourself from what you don't want anymore, and you're getting closer to what it is that you really want in life. So it's not this thing called life, Bryan, it's not rocket science. But our mind creates so much confusion, and it's complicated. Well, I got to do these 5 things, I got to do these 6 things, and we complicate things to the point where it's just like enough is enough, and then we revert back to our old ways, whether it be eating habits, whether it be exercise habits, whether it be thought patterns, and we get back into that comfort zone. We got to push. Nothing in this world grows until it steps outside its comfort zone. We all know that through experiences too. Everyone who's watching this knows a time when you took a chance, you took a risk, and you did it. Guess what? You know you can. So whatever it is that you might be facing today, knowing full well you have a history of going into your heart, finding that courage, and persevering.
That's awesome. So I know, like, rituals are they're so important to the outcomes that we get. And as human beings, I personally believe, and I almost bet that you're of the same mind in that, you know, a lot of us are just like trapped as humans in these rituals that we don't even realize we're doing. We're waking up, we're looking in the mirror, and we're negatively speaking to ourselves, negatively impressing our minds with thoughts that just aren't serving where we want to go. And we do that day after day, week after week, month after month. And now you've got a ritual, a daily ritual that's become a habit without even thinking you're in a negative way of basically being, giving yourself negative self-talk. And I know, like, in sales as an example, that could freaking be the death spiral, right? Because all of a sudden you got a business owner and they start convincing themselves there's not enough people, the economy is bad, all these other things. And just goes down and down and down. It's hard to break that. Do you have any advice for people or something that you've used in the past that could?
Absolutely. Is that right away we have to remind ourselves before we go into any sales meeting, before we go into any exercise routine, before we do anything, we have to, I like to have a mantra, something that I am going to say to myself repeatedly, like I'm going to win the day, or I got this, or today's going to be the best day of my life. And I'll do things, sometimes I'll put music on and everything to get myself inspired. And
Can I ask you something else about this for a second? Because this is freaking awesome, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. So this is where I think, this is where like the rubber meets the road, okay? Because I've been listening to these tapes and these seminars and this advice from people like my whole life. And one day I realized I'm going to actually freaking do it, right? I'm actually going to wake up in the morning and I'm going to say this mantra to myself over and over again 10 times in a row. And something amazing happened. It started to just become a habit. I woke up and I just automatically was in a more pleasant, more productive state of mind. And you know, I think it just falls on deaf ears because it's constantly coming from the same source. But like, I'd love to hear your perspective on it, not just for our audience, but selfishly for me as well. Because it seems like you're someone who really freaking does that. You're not just doling out advice that you read. So you really freaking do this.
I have to do it myself. I'm going to tell people out there who are saying, well, you know, what if you don't believe in it? And someone could take this into like a sexual connotation, but fake it until you make it. So I'm going to tell you, just do some of these things that you know deep down inside are good for you, even if there's that part of you and that sabotaging self that you don't believe in it. You start doing it and it becomes a part of your routine, exercising, mantras, getting outside. I like to, I mean, we mentioned before, like we're human beings. I'm a human doing too. So I need to complement my doing in life, making things happen, exercising, meditating, doing things with just being still and silent sometimes. That's where I get it for myself. So whatever it is that you're doing is create a routine and stick to it. There is a theory out there, Bryan, that says if you do something for 21 days straight, good, bad, or indifferent, it becomes a habit. So you think about whether it be self-talk, you think about routines, think you do in the morning, think about eating habits, is that there are habits that we've created. And to make a new habit, you have to commit. You have to commit. Don't expect, we want quick fixes in this world. Don't expect something to happen just like tomorrow. It's like, wait a minute, this didn't work today. No, see it through. Give it the 21 days. Give it 3 weeks. And I like to fill it with positive habits. Again, an exercise routine, eating habits, thought patterns, everything that I know that I've done from time to time that nourishes my soul, that feeds me. I know what's good for me now. And everyone out there knows, and it's a matter of just putting together a nice routine, as you said, and see it through. So I like to begin my day and end my day with that, and wherever I can, because people are like, well, what do you do in the middle of the day if you're stressed out about something? I was like, and you don't have time. I was like, you have time for a deep breath. I know when I take a deep breath right now, that allows me to think a little bit more rational, allows me to be more in the moment, allows me to not be dwelling on the past or preoccupied with the future. When I get to that moment, guess what? That's where the answers appear. So something like a deep breath, go for a walk, do simple things. It's not complicated, but more than anything, Bryan, you gotta take action. You can't just be thinking. So there are a lot of people out there that know what they need to do, know what works, but it can't just be thinking. You gotta put it into play. You have to put it into action. And that's where people come up short. It's like, I gotta take action. Oh, nothing happened. I did it for 2 days. No, you gotta see it through. You have to see it through.
So, awesome advice. And you are a public speaker of literally, like in my mind, epic proportions.
Wow, thank you.
Honestly,
thank you.
like just totally epic proportions. Like for those of you that don't know the backstory and how we met, I was looking for somebody to speak at our national convention. And I was introduced to Scott through a mutual friend. We spoke on the phone for like 10 minutes. All I needed to do is hear his story, hear his enthusiasm, hear how he was able to quickly communicate so fast and impact me. My energy just increased just from listening. I was like, this is a no-brainer. We absolutely, positively must have Scott be our speaker here. But what I've come to learn through this experience is that more than just being an epic public speaker and someone who really impacts people from the stage, you're also a business person, right? I mean, you're running your business. You have to you have to book these events, and you have to make sure they're profitable and everything like this. And so, I bet that a lot of the people out there would probably like to hear a little bit about some of those challenges, how you overcome the daily challenges that we all have to overcome as business people.
Well, it's about being honest with ourselves. And for me, when it comes to business, one of my biggest challenges is organization. I had a difficult time, it's not happening now in 2019, of saying no. I had a very difficult time because I'm there wanting to serve and accommodate everyone, but I realized, you know what, by saying no doesn't mean that I don't care. It might not be the right time, it might not be the right place, and so forth. So I've learned to say no, but I will also give other people solutions. Staying organized and focused are some of my challenges. And what I like to do too is that I realize it can't just be a solo operation. So whether it be my family, whether it be my friends, is that these are the people who are going to call me on my stuff. These are the people who are going to help me to stay focused and organized. Folks, if we were meant to be in this world alone, we would be on a deserted island. No one else would be around. My greatest blessing and gifts are my board of directors. And that begins with my wife and my daughter and my son. And it trickles down to some family members, some friends who, again, will let me know when, hey, you know what, I'm hitting home runs in and out of the park. And you know what, when I'm striking out and what I could be doing better. You mentioned, and I'm flattered, and I felt the same way about you, Bryan, when we first met in terms of that energy. I want everyone who's watching this program right now to think about those people who raise your level of energy, raise that vibration.
It's really important.
And other people who, again, you choose to allow to deplete your energy. I'm not saying kick the family member out of the house, but you know what?
But maybe kick the family member out of the house.
Maybe kick the family member out of the house. This is going to turn into a whole different type of program, though. But just it's doing a self-inventory. It's doing a self-inventory and realizing who do I have in my life who's really allowing me and like supporting me in getting to that next level, and who it might be holding me back, and just going through it. I'm not saying to get rid of the relationship, but maybe it only serves you in this capacity. And maybe there's a huge void that you need to attract somebody that's going to best support you. Maybe you need a mentor, maybe you need a coach, whatever it may be, someone who's really going to support you and get to that next level. Because I mean, having run my own business now, and I know you run your own business, is that we're constantly kind of reinventing ourselves. We're constantly wanting to stay relevant. So, for me, I mean, I have a documentary on my life that's coming out. These guys saw me surfing a few years ago and thought we were going to do something about adaptive surfing. They did a little bit more research and said, no, we're going to do something on your life now. So Ride the Wave is going to be coming out in theaters. I'm working on my first book, which is so overdue. So overdue.
And you're impacting millions of lives?
Oh, yeah, no,
the potential's unlimited.
It's
really.
unlimited. I've touched over 1 million lives so far based on where I've reached, but no, there are hundreds of millions that are waiting. And what I love more than anything, whether it be the documentary, whether it be the book, whether it be my speaking presentations, is that my story is the centerpiece for a lot of this. But when I'm sharing my story, everyone shares with me, wow, Scott, I felt like you were talking to me. I felt like you plugged into me. And I even get times, Bryan, where people say, you know, I completely forgot that you were in a wheelchair, because it was so much more than that for them. And that's where they saw their mere reflection in me. And when that happens, guess what? I have a much better chance of people taking my message and creating massive positive action in their lives. That's what my purpose is all about. That's how I serve other people's. And that's something also that I think is important for us to share, is that while people might be stuck in a certain holding pattern right now, they don't have a true sense of purpose. So they need to help discover what talents, what gifts they have.
That's the max factor.
That's the max factor. There you go. That they need, exactly. See, we've come full circle. Is that what they need to be doing to share with others to make it? And just so you know, I don't know if it's going to translate to a multi-million-dollar career, right? For right now, that talent that you have within you, maybe volunteer it. Go somewhere and share it with someone else and see what happens from there. But you got to put that into play too. And if not, it's not just you holding yourself back. you're doing the world a disservice if you're not sharing your gifts with them.
It's true. I'll tell you, like, even everything that's happened in my life that brought me to this place where there's literally tens of thousands and soon to be hundreds of thousands of people that are participating in the Max Challenge on a daily basis. If people saw the first half, it wasn't all of that, you know, and it truly was like a lot of volunteering, a lot of just honing my skills. And people say, oh, you're a natural speaker, a natural salesperson, or a natural, even they say I'm an extrovert. I mean, the truth is it's the opposite. You know, I'm more of an introvert than an extrovert.
Right.
And I've worked extremely diligently over a matter of decades, really, honing my ability to speak in front of groups and really discovering my inner passion so that I could share it with more and more people and become more capable. But it did start with volunteering and small little things, speaking in front of a group of, you know, local business owners that might have wanted to know, you know, something that I was an expert in at that time, and then, you know, growing it from there. And it's true. What you're telling people is 100% absolutely fantastic advice. It's incredible.
So you were absolutely born with a talent. You were born with a talent to help other people, but through your training, through your practice, through your studying, through your research, is that you turned it into a skill. So there's people out there who we all have a talent, or talents plural, and we sit on that talent, and sometimes we can get by, and I like to say that's when we coast, that's when we survive. But it's those who are beating on their craft each and every day that are taking that talent and turn it into a skill. Right away, I think of someone, and the insane amount, I know he's going through an injury right now, but I think of LeBron James. And LeBron James, a great basketball player and a great businessman and everything, he's not just sitting back. He's like that first one to get into the gym. He's the last one to leave that gym. And everyone would be like, you know what, you don't need to be that person. And he's like, to get to that next level. So what's important, though, is that he's enjoying the moment. He's enjoying the journey. Because if it's a constant, oh, like, I got to get to this level, I got to do this, then you're missing out on the journey. Then it's always like you're never satisfied. So I like to use the word satisfied, yet I got a hunger for more. And I know that there's another level. Right? I always tell people, when I have any part of my life figured out, is that you dig a hole in the ground, you put me in it, cover me with dirt. There's no reason to be alive. For me, it's about appreciating where we are, right here, right now. Whatever challenges, whatever is going great, appreciate where we are, but knowing full well that there's always another level, in which, getting back to my power to choose, we could say, what do I have to do? Or what's next? Or you can say to yourself with your eyes wide open and everything and saying, where's that next experience come? Who am I meeting next? Who's connecting me with my passion and my purpose to take my life to the next level? Then it becomes almost like this hunt, this investigation into saying, like, wow, what is yet to be uncovered? And that's where you bring the enthusiasm and the passion for life forward. And that becomes part of your fuel as well.
That's really exciting, because that enthusiasm, that passion piece, it's like, you know, when you have a purpose, when you have a reason to get up in the morning that is more than just a reason. Like, to me, take the Max Transformation as an example, right? Some people join up and their reason is they want to lose 5 pounds, they want to lose 10 pounds. But then there's people that are literally on a friggin' mission, right? Because they know that the direction of the health of our country is literally the worst than it's ever been in the history of mankind. And that most of these things we're experiencing as a nation in terms of health are controllable by two things: fitness, exercise, and nutrition. And they get up in the morning and at 4:57 to get to their 5 a.m. class, and they jump out of bed because they're literally on a mission to make a difference, not just for themselves, but to be an example for their kids. And that's the difference. You know, the reason is you want to lose 5 pounds. The mission is you want to make a difference in the world. You want to be a shining example of what it really means to live life to the fullest. And I really think that's the difference with people in the Max Challenge, because, you know, the ones that come in with the reason, the 5 pound ones, they end up pushing the snooze button and not showing up. You know, the ones that are on a mission,
that's their comfort zone.
Yeah.
That's their comfort zone. That 5 pounds, that hitting the snooze button, that keeps us in a certain circle that, you know what, we're safe, I'm not pushing too much, I feel somewhat connected. It's yet those people are stepping a little bit outside their comfort zone, a lot outside their comfort zone. That's where they're seeing all the benefits that the Max Challenge has to offer.
I'm going to ask you for some advice now, right?
You got it.
So I wake up like practically, people wouldn't even believe that. I wake up like practically every single day, after I go through my mantra and I'm all pumped up and whatnot, I'm driving here and I start to get a little nervous. And the reason why I'm getting nervous is every day practically, I'm doing something that I've never done before, right? I mean, the company has literally grown. I'm looking at my board up there from $100,000 a month. I shouldn't even do anything, but whatever. It's literally $1.5 million a month, right? It's like a huge jump. And the skills that are required of a leader at 100,000 compared to 1.5 million, is that what that? Yeah, 1.5 million a month. The skills of that type of leader are completely different, right? So it's kind of like where I feel like, this is the demand of my new role as CEO of this much larger company, and this is where I am, and I'm constantly, it's growing, and I'm constantly trying to catch up. And so how does one, I'm constantly outside of my comfort zone every day. Like,
Absolutely.
How do people deal with this in a productive manner that helps them to keep moving forward?
Well, it's keeping that sabotaging self in check, because even though you're growing and you're creating all this, I'm sure that little sabotaging self is still showing up to say, you're not going to be able to handle this and everything. And this is just like a fleeting dream, and you're not worthy, and just give it time. It's going to end like other things in your life. So it's kind of almost laughing, is that when the screen of your mind creates this fearful production, is that you watch it play out, you give it like center stage, but then you start to smile at it and laugh at it and just say, okay, I know why you're here and everything. I appreciate it. We try to fight that sabotaging self, whereas I like to laugh at it from time to time. And just taking that deep breath and reminding ourselves that everything that I am creating in my life, I am worthy of, that I am deserving of, and my hard work. But yet, you know what? And I'm going to appreciate what it is that I created. But and this is a perfect example, looking at this, the growth that you've experienced, there's another level. I mean, we're going to need a whole new chart. We're going to need a whole new thing, because it's going to get bigger and bigger. And you're going to have what it takes to lead this group. And is that your staff is going to grow, and you are going to grow throughout the country, maybe throughout the world, and just beginning to start to entertain this and to say, yeah, this is, and I'm capable of this. I'm worthy of this. And yeah, this is a part of the plan. But so many times is that we start to answer to that voice and we sabotage things. How many people out there have amazing things, whether it be a relationship, whether it be a job, but they're not finding any happiness in it. They're actually sabotaging it. Like anyone looking from the outside in, but saying, no, it's great what you're in right now. What are you doing? Is that, we have patterns in which, there's patterns in which we've created greatness and success and happiness in our lives. And we also all have patterns in which we've created disappointment, sadness, and rejection, you name it, in our lives. And again, it's up to us. Which path do you want to navigate? And sometimes we'll head down. We all head down one of this path. But the more that we get enticed by that path that we know fills our soul, the more that, okay, I know I'm heading in this direction now. I know my mind's playing tricks on me. I know I'm living from a place of fear. And I say, what's the opposite of fear? It's love. And am I really in my heart? One of the things we talked about at your corporate retreat, it was doing a head-heart shift. The mind thinks, the heart knows. When we're living from here up in our heads, and it's about fear, it's about disbelief, about playing small. I want to ask all of your listeners right now, if not all of those words resonate with them, fear, disbelief, playing small. If that's the case, again, I appreciate your honesty. But through the power to choose comes the power to change. I'm going to tell you right here, right now, is that we're going to flip that switch off and we're going to go into our hearts. Because when our heart's leading the way, then it's about courage. Then it's about expansion. Then it's about subscribing to the belief that anything is possible. And what I have found in years of doing this is that when your heart's leading the way, then this beautiful thing called your mind, great movie, A Beautiful Mind, then this thing called a beautiful mind serves you in the form of creativity and imagination. But if this is leading the way, I can assure you is that you are playing small, that you are living in a place of fear. You might be getting by, you might be surviving, But I'm telling you now, your heart's just waiting for you to talk to it and say, you know what, we're ready to thrive. Anytime you are, just trust the process and come with us, because that's all the heart wants to do.
It's awesome.
That's all the heart wants to
do.
do.
Very exciting. The fear piece of it to me is very interesting because it could be very harmful. Obviously, it's very harmful. Not it could be. It's extremely harmful to oneself. But I think what people don't recognize is just how harmful it is to the other people around them.
Absolutely. And you mentioned fear before, so a lot of people will tell you is that, and maybe in your growth there could be something there too, is that like I have a fear of like failing on some part. I have a fear of failing. 99% of people who tell you they have a fear of failing are actually failing. You're actually failing in some aspect of your life, so don't be afraid of it. You're actually failing. You're failing in some regard of your life. What we are really afraid of is our fear of success. It's a fear of what we can become because it's so big. It's so daunting to someone.
There was that
success
poem about that, right?
Huge. Marianne Williamson. It's actually what Nelson Mandela read at his inauguration. It was huge. It's not the fear. We're fear of what we can become. But yet, so we choose to play small so we don't have to do that. Whereas, guess what? Whatever that platform is.
I don't know if you've experienced this, but sometimes people try to project their fear onto you and pull you into that web. And it's something that fortunately over the past decade and a half or so, past 15 years, I've learned to recognize and then protect myself against. But it's so easy to fall into that trap where someone says, yeah, this economy is really impacting my business. And then next thing you know, you start to commiserate with them.
Right.
And their thoughts become your thoughts, and then, you know, as they say, misery loves company. And it becomes a really dark place. And I see it all the time in new business owners where they're saying, you know, I got a phone call from another person, they're stuck at, let's say, 130 members, or from a member who says, you know, I'm just stuck. I'm stuck at this weight, and I really want to get to this weight, or I want to, you know, improve my life in a certain way, and I'm stuck in this position, and it seems like everybody else is stuck in this as well. And I was talking to them, and I think talking to people too much could sometimes be
too much. Then we're actually in our heads. If you're in a place of fear right now, if you want to make a massive change or you have to react to a certain amount of change, is that 3 questions with regards to fear. Is that in terms of moving forward and making a change in which the fear is generated.
3 questions.
3 questions. What's the worst case scenario if I move forward in the face of this fear? What's the worst thing that can happen? And entertain that, give yourself as many answers. What's the best case scenario if I move forward in the face of this fear? And then what's the most likely case scenario? So if you exhaust all those with regards to fear, you will have that answer. And even let's just say worst case scenario. Anyone out there, like whether it be starting an exercise routine, eating healthier, getting out of a relationship, ask yourself, what's the worst case scenario? Is the world going to come to an end? Probably not, yet your mind's probably telling you it is. Is this person maybe going to leave you? Maybe, but that's okay. Life will go on. And so you exhaust all that and you'll realize, wow, how dramatic. That's the best way to describe our minds when we're living from up here. It's dramatic. That's why I'm like, put that drum up on the screen and just watch that thing play out. Is that, and then get back into your heart and find out, okay, what's the most likely case scenario? So you've exhausted. See, a lot of people are like, you have to be fearless in this world. And it sounds great. Isn't that a great word, fearless? It's great. We associate our superheroes with that. No, is that being fearful is natural. So being fearless, that's unnatural. What it is that it's being fearful and it's moving forward anyway with courage. So it's exhausting. It's leveraging the fear, which is just energy. That's what we do.
You shared that story with me, how you met Anthony Robbins. You were at his seminar, and most of the people watching this are huge Anthony Robbins fans, I'd bet.
He's awesome. One of my greatest teachers. He's amazing.
And what was that story? Just share it with us, because it was that impactful.
So there was one night, so we were at a personal development seminar in, I believe it was Kona, Hawaii. And I think it was Life Mastery, actually. And one night it was announced that we were going to do a firewalk. A firewalk. So right away, my mind got a hold of this and saying, firewalk, kind of joke is this? Burning hot coals. So I'm like, ooh. And so they have a little demonstration over to the side of burning hot coals. So I kind of wheel over to it and I put my hand down by it and I was like, these are burning hot coals. How are we going to walk? And then it dawned on me, I was like, I can't walk. I'm the only one, 2,500 people that are at this seminar. I'm the only one that's in a wheelchair, the only one that can't walk. I can't do this. Thankfully, I trained myself at that point to do a head-heart shift. Again, mind's going to show up. Mind's going to be there to tell me I can't do it. But I trained myself to do a head-heart shift. Again, mind thinks, heart knows. Heart says to me, find a way. The more you trust your heart, the more it's going to give you clear, concise, quick answers that, you know what, you just got to act on. Find a way. So right away, the answer starts to appear. Like I go up, I'm face to face with Tony. Tony's a little bit higher, so I'm looking up, straining my neck. I said, Tony,
like
I was
7 feet tall or something.
7 feet tall. He's humongous, and his hands are even bigger. Man's a monstrosity. Is that I said, Tony, I was like, listen, I know that I can't do this firewalk on my feet and on my legs, but you know what? I'm going to do it on my hands. See, with my arms and my hands, I'm going to transfer down out of my wheelchair onto the ground. I'm going to flip over onto my stomach. I want you to grab my legs like a wheelbarrow race, and we're going to go along these burning hot coals. Now, he looked at me like many people look at me like, this guy's crazy. And yeah, I'm crazy. I am crazy. I'm crazy for this thing called life. I don't know. There's people out there who are listening to this right now. You like when people tell you can't do something? You like when people tell you can't be something? Do you buy that and make it yours? Or is there a bigger voice inside of you that says, you know what, I'm just going to disprove you. I love when people tell me I can't do something. I love when people can't tell me I can't be something. I'm going to find a way to do it. You've just given me more energy, so thank you. So all of a sudden, Tony's like, you know what, I believe in you, Scott, but you need to be prepared. So after a night's worth of training, he says, Scott, it's not going to be this little patch of burning hot coals. There's going to be a path 40 feet long of burning hot coals. Whatever you want in life is waiting for you on the other end. And I remember one of my biggest desires at that time was wanting to improve the chances of having my own children. More important to me than walking in something that I was told was basically impossible. So I got a visual of myself walking along the beach holding my wife's hand with one hand and holding a child's hand, my own biological child, with the other hand. There was nothing that you could do to stop me. So I got down on the ground, flipped over on my stomach. He grabbed my legs and I said, let's go. And we went and I felt some heat on my hands and I felt it on my face. And I got done with it. And it was one of those moments in which everyone who's listening to this now has, in which you said to yourself, I don't think I can do this. But you did it anyway. And there's that part of you that says, you know what, if this is possible, anything is possible. We all have examples in our lives in which we did it. And there's sometimes in the moment where, guess what? This is where we can utilize the past. We rewind that tape of our life. We extract that energy. We extract that belief. Oh yeah, I got it done? Okay. And we insert it in the moment. And sometimes just that little propulsion will take us forward by reminding us, yes, I can do this. And so, wow, I went from 5% chance of having my own children to a 55% chance. And I know right now it's that power of belief that exists within all of us. Everyone who's listening right now is that you have that power of belief, and you've got to go inside.
The 55% is 100% because you have 2 children.
I have 2 beautiful children. I have a teenage daughter and a teenage son now and everything, who are great. And they're my greatest blessings. They're my impossible. I tell people that is it tough? Is something tough in life, Bryan? If it's tough, guess what? It's going to require a little bit more work, a little bit more effort. Okay, Scott, it's impossible. I take that apostrophe and I put it between the I and M in impossible, and I make it I'm possible. So the impossibility might just take a little bit longer. But you know what? There's nothing out there that I'm not at least going to go after. Do I succeed at everything? No. But do I learn a hell of a lot from my failures? Absolutely. How would we know success if we didn't know failure? How would we know pleasure if we didn't experience pain? How would we know a lit room if we didn't know darkness? It's about embracing life's polar opposites. So if there's a part of life, like, hey, I'm not saying to go out and fail. I'm not saying you got to go out and fail, but you know what? Knowing full well there's something to be learned in failure would never be where I am in my life had it not been for all my failures in life and all my successes.
With all these successes, the skydiving, the surfing, the family, even the walking the hot coals with Anthony Robbins, which is like, you know, so amazing. with all these things, people would think, okay, there's this crowd of people that are constantly cheering you on. They're so supportive all the time. They're saying, go for it. You got another crazy idea? Go for it. You got another crazy idea? Sure, yeah, whatever. But I'm sure, I'm not positive, but I'm curious to know, because if it's anything like my life, like, people aren't really pushing you in the direction all the time. Sometimes they're saying, listen, like, have you lost your mind? Like, you're going a little bit over the deep end this time, right? Like, another thing, and then yet another thing. Like, come on, you got to slow down. You got to stop with all this craziness.
Well, I'm going through something like that in my life now. It was about a year ago. I broke my leg surfing. I do adaptive surfing, so it's everything on a surfboard except getting up, taking waves 100 yards left, 100 yards right, the length of a football field. And it was day before Father's Day in 2017. I got rolled by a wave. I wiped out, and I broke my fever. I have a titanium rod in there. I say it matches my wheelchair. And it is something now that, like, I'm kind of in a little bit of a holding pattern. It is healed. It's actually, my right leg is actually stronger than my left leg, to the point where my daughter actually asked the doctor, like, should we break that other one if it's stronger? So it's almost like keep one eye open, that old Metallica song, with see if my daughter's gonna be around with a baseball bat looking to whack my left leg one day. But anyway, I'm in a place right now, I love surfing. I'm passionate about it. And maybe if it was just me, I would be back out there already. But I realized through, I'm a husband, I'm a father, I have responsibilities. I'm 48. I don't want to say I'm too old, but yes, my bones are a little bit more brittle. So I'm saying, you know what? Do I need to get back out there? Do I want to? I know I want to get back out there, but do I need to get back out there? So there's costs and payoffs to everything. I just don't want fear. See, my whole thing is that if fear is the underlying reason for me not doing this, then I can't do it. I'm a believer in karma. I believe any decision based in fear if I make a decision based in fear, there's going to be a huge karmic lesson. Like, I'm going to have a very painful experience to go through somewhere down the road. So if it's a precautionary, not a fearful, but a precautionary measure thing that I take and everything, I have to find something to replace it with. But and that's okay to have, it's like indecisions from time to time, but never allow fear to be the deciding factor for anything in your life, because there will be some tough lessons to learn.
They've got this new word going around the office here. They call it MTP. You know what that is?
MTP, no.
Massive.
Massive?
Scott is the other Scott down the hall.
There is another Scott? I thought I was the only Scott.
You are the only, the one and only Scott.
Okay.
He's borrowing your name for the time being. But he calls the massive transformational purpose, right? So
sounds great.
Yeah. But do you feel like that one thing that you're like trying to drive home to literally the whole world, like communicating with the world, trying to, give everybody one thing that they could learn from you? Like, if there was one last word that you could give to the audience out there that would explain who you are as a person and what you're trying to leave behind and how you feel like you could impact them and make that impact right now, what would that be?
Well, it's interesting. When you said that, I was thinking that an audience member just asked me the other day, Scott, if there was one word that could best describe who you are, what would you want that word to be? And I was like, wow, that's powerful as a college student. And I went into my heart, and the word was waiting for me there, and it was real. I want to be real. And I feel that the more real I am, the more experiences I have, both the trials and the tribulations, the more people that I can connect with. And that's what I want to do. I don't want to leave any stone unturned. I want to connect with as many people as possible. I want people to see themselves through me, through my life journey, but also to say, hey, you know what? Scott, he's a real person. He's met some amazing people. He's done some amazing things, and he's had some real massive setbacks and things in between. He's real. And I want people to realize that they're real too, meaning it's okay. It's kind of like what my documentary is about too. It's called Ride the Wave. And it's like, whether you like the ocean or not, there's times when you're at the top of the wave and everything is going great. We have a beautiful vision of what's going on, and we wish this moment never ended. But then there's a next moment in which, my leg is a testimonial to that, in which we wipe out and we struggle and we fail and we get hurt. And in that moment, it feels like the end of the world. We want it to end. But then what's interesting is that even if that wave has taken you onto shore, and you know what, you feel whether it was, wow, that was the most beautiful wave I ever rode, or that was the worst wipeout possible, you look over your shoulder, you look back into that ocean, there's another wave that's coming, and another wave after that. And no two waves look the same. And so it's like, you know what, I want to get back on that wave. I want to get out there. Do I know exactly what's going to happen in this world? No. All I know is that I'm going to do my best to navigate those waves.
That is awesome. So I, for one, am totally excited to see this documentary when it comes out.
Awesome.
And I hope that we inspired a whole bunch of people to check out your story, to learn more, and to also get pumped up. Like if you're looking for a speaker, look no further. This is where you've got to go. I'm totally jacked up. This has been the first episode of The Max Factor. Hit it out of the park. Thanks so much, man.
Thank you, buddy. Thank you. Thank
All
you.
right. Take it to the max.